All right, so today we are going over mid-segments. So how many of you have heard this definition before? Like brand new, or is it? It might be. So, but it's just really easy. You guys know what the word mid is. You know what segment is. So mid-segment of the triangle, it just joins the two midpoints. So it's exactly at the halfway mark of both of them. And things that we know about mid-segments are it will always be parallel to that third side. And it's half the length of the third side. So if we know it's a mid-segment, we know these two things about it. Or if we know, like here, it just defines D is the midpoint, E is the midpoint, so therefore we know that it's parallel and half the length. So now we have this beautiful little drawing that we're just going to, I'm going to zoom in a bit on it. So by definition, we know that xj in our givens is congruent to yj. So those two halves equal each other, which means j is the midpoint, right? Yes. And then we have yl is congruent to lz, which again means those two parts are congruent, l is the midpoint. And then our xk is congruent to kz. So it gives us the definition that all of these middle ones are the midpoints. Therefore, we can use our midpoint formulas here. So jk would have to be parallel to which line? YZ. Because we know it's the mid-segment, and so they're parallel. We're going to come straight down. XY would be parallel to which one? To KL. So we're looking again. These are the parallel lines. I'm going to color code them. And JL is parallel to what? Okay, so we went through that kind of fast, and only one person was answering, so how are the rest of you feeling? Do you see it? Okay, tired's okay, just if you have questions, I want to pause here. Okay, so we're just identifying, because we know they're the mid-segments, that which ones are parallel. Now we're going to match which ones are congruent. So JL is this one here. What would it be congruent to? Yep, KZ, because it's half of that one, so KZ, and XK, so just the two halves, because our definition is that that is equal to half of those two, so they're all equal. All right, what is YJ congruent to? JX, the other half of it, and KL. All right, and then last one. What is JK congruent to?
YL.
YL. And LZ. Okay, so that's just matching it up. You'll have something just like that on the assignment, just matching up which parts are parallel, which parts are congruent. So then the next part is asked to solve for x. So based on what we know, that the third side is twice the length of the mid-segment, how could we set up an equation for this? Okay, so if one of it's half the length, are we going to multiply 1 by half or 1 by 2?
2.
You could set it up either way. Which side would I multiply by 2 to make these equal? the QR, right? QR is the shorter one, so that we have to multiply by 2. So we do x plus 9 equals 2x minus 3 times 2. I could set it up if I wanted to. 1/2 x plus 9 equals 2x minus 3. But I don't want to, because then I have to work with a fraction. So this one, and then we just solve it out. So distribute 4x minus 6. Can you solve it faster than me? X equals 5? X does equal 5. Alright, are we finished? Yeah, so what do I need to do now? So I solved for x. I need to find the length of the 2 segments. So if I plug it in, what is YW?
14.
Yeah. And what is QR? 2 times 5 minus 3?
Oh, minus 3. That's 7 for sure.
7. Did we do our math right? Is the longer one twice the length of the shorter one? Alright, so that's always the check with these, is you can see what matches up. Alright, so then our next one, we have our TA and ZO, and they're both trinomials with x squared in it. Which side do I multiply by 2?
ZO.
ZO. So I set up an equation, 3x squared plus 4x minus 10 equals 2 times x squared minus x plus 3. What's my first step to solve it? So I just go through the steps. 2x squared minus 2x plus 6. Who remembers when we have trinomials, what format we need to get it into to solve? Someone say, do I want everything on one side to equal 0, or do I want all the x's on one side and the numbers on the other? Yeah, because when we have an x squared in there, it's going to have to equal 0 so we can factor it. So I'm going to move everything from this side of the equation over to this side. And then it will equal 0. So that gives me x squared plus 6x minus 16 equals 0. What does that factor to? Or do we need to review factoring? Okay, that's a lot of blank books. So when we factor, remember we take the last term, and we're looking at what multiplies to 16 and adds, or in this case, subtracts to 6. So I just draw all my, if I can't see it right away, I draw all my factors of 16, which are 1 and 16, 2 and 8. And one would have to be negative, because I know negative 16. Which ones will subtract to 6?
2 and 8.
And to give me a positive 6 in the middle, which one needs to be negative? So then my answer, or my factoring step, is just x minus 2, x plus 8 equals 0. And then to find out what x equals, if I need it to equal 0, what would x equal to make this side part equal 0? Why? If I need this parentheses to equal 0, x would be positive 2, right? Because 2 minus 2 is 0.
Yeah.
And if I want it to equal 0, positive or negative 8? Negative 8. Okay, so when we have factoring, we usually have 2 solutions. Now, we can't ever have a negative distance, so we need to go back and check. Well, and this one did ask for distance anyway. So I need to go back and check and say, okay, do either of these work for distance? And so I'm going to do 3 times 2 squared plus 4 times 2 minus 10. Or the other one would be 3 times negative 8 squared plus 4 times negative 8 minus 10. Okay, and to save us time in notes, I'm going to type those into my calculator. And these calculators will take your whole thing, the whole thing. And it comes out to 150. And this one comes out to 10. So are those both positive distance? Would they both work?
Yeah.
Do you think we should check anything else to see if we can eliminate one? What else could I check? No ideas?
No.
So for these to work, I need to know ZO is half of TA, right? So I could also plug these numbers into ZO and just make sure. So 2 squared is 4, minus 2 plus 3 is 5, right? So 5 is half of 10, so that one works. And then x squared, so negative 8 squared is 64, minus negative 8 plus 3 also comes out to 75, so it's half of them. So in this case, they both check. Your homework for this is online, so I mean, if it gives you 2 blanks, just know you're going to have 2 answers. That happens sometimes in factoring. Okay, so we have, oh, that was utterly the wrong button. Trying to pause the recording. Okay, so our pattern is just to make a triangle, we have to be greater than, the two sides have to be greater than the third side. So now on here, I'm going to draw sticks, and you guys are going to tell me yes or no, can we make a triangle? So I got desk 11 first.
I don't even know what that's going to be.
Okay, let
I'll
me
be
get my
desk
chart.
11.
Alright, who's volunteering for desk 11?
I am.
Okay, Chase, what's the name of the first one?
Yes.
Yes, and what type of triangle?
Oh.
Yeah, scaling because all the sides are different, right? Alright. I'm pretty sure that's an empty. You guys want to volunteer? No, but some people are sleepy. I need to call on desk numbers. Alright, I'll let you volunteer for the next one. What do you say?
Oh, yes. Oh, no.
Yeah, no, because 2 equals 2. And then this is just NA, or you can cross it out. Alright, I drew desk number 10, which I think is John. Are you desk 10? Oh. Alright, Daniela, what do you say for number 3? Yes, and how would you classify it? Isosceles. Did I spell that right? Pretty sure that's the way isosceles is spelled. Alright, desk 13. Okay, we'll let that count. Enrique, what would you say? No, but see if you can tell without using the sticks, just looking at it.
Yes.
For number 4?
No.
Yeah, so why is it no?
Because 3 plus 3 is 6 and that's less than 7.
Yeah, so 6 is less than 7. So even though they have it in a different order, just still the 2 small sides. So no, can't classify it. So now we're making a range of values. So what's the possible range of values for x here? Less than 7 or greater than 7?
Less than 7, greater than 0.
Okay, so 3 plus 4 equals 7, right? So the other side has to be less than 7 or greater than 7? Greater than, right? The third side has to be greater than the 2 smaller sides? to be a triangle?
Yeah.
Yep.
Not equal. No.
Okay, so if we add the two, okay, so it can go two ways. If these are the two short sides, we add them up to equal 7. So then x has to be greater than 7, because otherwise they would equal each other. Okay, so could it also? But what if 4 is the greatest side? Could 4 be the greatest side?
Yeah. Yeah.
If 4 was the greatest side, what could it be? So if it was 2, 2 plus 3 would be greater than 4, right?
Yeah.
If it was 3, 3 plus 3 would work. How about if the other side was 4? How about if it was 5? Am I doing this wrong?
Yeah.
It is.
Right up there, it says the small size must be greater than the larger size.
You're right. I'm totally doing that wrong. So x has to be less than 7. Sorry. And greater than, at what point would it be too small to work? 0. How about 1?
Yeah.
Would 1 work? No, because 1 plus 3 is 4, and 4 equals 4. So it has to be less than 7 and greater than 1.
But it could also, if we think about it, it could range from 0 is less than x is less than 4 as well, if x is one of the smaller sides.
Yeah, you're right, but we can't have a side of 0 because then it's not a triangle.
No, I said 0 is less than
So would it work if we had a fraction like half or something, like between 0 and 1? Or would that still make the two shorter sides smaller?
Just use whole numbers.
Okay, so if I have 1 plus 3 and then 4 is the greatest side, that wouldn't work, right? Because then they're equal. I'm hearing so many, I'm lost. I'm pretty sure this is the only way we could make a triangle there. Let's try the next one and see what we have. So 10, 12, and x. So what is the largest number that x could be? Yeah, so it has to be less than 22. So it could be like a fraction, but it just has to be less than 22. And what is the smallest number it could be? 2, yeah. Because, or it has to be greater than 2, because if it was 2, then they'd be equal. So do you guys see the pattern of how we're finding this? We add them up to find the greater number, subtract them to find the smaller one.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Add them up, subtract them. All right, once you have that, flip over. One last short section of notes. Can I flip mine yet? Okay, so this is a rule that you need to know. In a triangle, the largest side is opposite to the largest angle. Smallest side is opposite smallest angle. And converse is also true. So basically, like sides and angles, just when we're doing the order of them, they opposites line up. And so if I know A is 120, B is 40, C is 20, which one would my largest side be?
BC.
BC, right? Opposite to A. So BC. Which one would my smallest side be? BA, because it's opposite to C.
Okay.
So we can just draw the arrow out, find the opposite side. All right, next one. If we just look at the sides of example 8, how do we classify it by sides? What is it? Isosceles scaling?
Oh, scaling?
Yeah, scaling. And If we're classifying the angles from small to large, what would my smallest angle be? B, because I find my smallest side is 9 and goes straight across from it.
Okay.
So angle B. What's my middle angle?
C.
C. And my largest angle?
A.
Alright, and now we've got to make some algebra into it. So, list the sides of triangle ABC in order from longest to shortest if the angles have these indicated measures. What do you think I should do first? Draw it. Heard someone say that. So A, B, C. I wouldn't have to draw it, but it helps. So I have 10x. I have 5x minus 17. I have 7x minus 1. How do I write an equation to solve for x?
Equal it to y.
Equal it to 180 because they're triangle angles. So 10x plus 5x minus 17 plus 7x minus 1 equals 180. Can you solve it faster than me?
Yeah.
No.
Alright, race me.
33, negative 18, from the 18, 62, so, let's see.
I like how Jacob actually tries to
13, 23, 68, I can't divide that.
Aww.
Wait, 22 is what? No, it would be 23.
Did I do it wrong?
No, it's
22x.
22.
Oh.
9?